So this was a difficult week, a frustrating week, a week that leaves us shrugging our shoulders and wondering what's going to happen next. So I'll just jump in by quoting something written by the founding editor of the Times of Israel, David Horowitz, a very measured, very thoughtful leader in the journalistic world. And here is what he wrote on June 17th. The new US-Iran deal manifestly empowers and finances a mass-murdering regime. It elevates the Islamic Republic to a regional powerhouse. It abandons the Iranian people to whom the president promised that help was on its way. And it directly endangers and constrains Israel with terminology that binds Israel to a ceasefire that it had no part in negotiating. In a few weeks, we are going to be reading the words of the prophet Bilam, who was hired to curse out the Israelites. And he stood and looked at the Israelites encamped in the wilderness, and he said, Ma'ekov lo kaboel, how can I curse the people whom God has not cursed? Ki merosh tzurim erenu, as I see them from the mountaintops, umigvaot ashurenu, and as I gaze on them from the hills, hein am levadad yishkon, uvagoyim lo yitchashav. They are a people that dwell apart. They are not reckoned among the nations. For me, and perhaps for many of us, this is a moment that is sad, frustrating, infuriating, a moment when Israel and the Jewish people might well be feeling once again like we are dwelling apart and like we are dwelling alone. We have felt like this before. And I do not want to engage now in this space in a geopolitical analysis. We can do that at Kiddush. We can do that over food. We can do that over drink, some of which comes from a place named after a very renowned bat mitzvah. Take a moment to figure that out. But I do want to say that there should be a sense of shared interest between the United States and Israel and all decent human beings that a diminished Iran is much better than a strong Iran. And as for the rest, we can discuss and we can analyze further in due time. But this morning, what I want to talk about is how Jewish people should be engaging with each other to the extent that we realize that we may be more alone than we would like to imagine. And what we need to do, and I say this full-throatedly, is we need to stop attacking each other viciously, which we are great at doing. We're great at doing it here in the United States. Jews from one political and ideological perspective attacking Jews from another ideological and political perspective. And certainly in Israel, this happens all the time, where Israelis go at each other. Right now, there is a volatile dispute that is taking place between those Israelis that have been serving in the armed forces and those mostly Haredi, ultra-Orthodox Jews that refuse to serve in the army or to serve the country through Sheirut Le'umi, through national service. It's one thing to have a dispute. This dispute has gotten so rancorous that a deputy Supreme Court president had his home attacked by Haredi individuals. And his wife was standing there as glass was being smashed and as the home was being attacked, saying, "This reminds me of what anti-Semites have done to Jewish people over the years. I can't believe that we are doing this to each other." It is easy and it is tempting for us to go after each other in vitriolic ways. Easy this week for some of us to say, "I told you so," to other people. That's really easy to say and to do. And you know what? About 100 years ago, when people discovered things about a certain president that many Jews were very, very supportive of, ideologically, those arguments happened in the other direction. And so here we are, understanding that we often, though we need allies in the world, need to figure out how to go it alone. And that is a sobering thing to understand. But the last thing that we need is to go at one another. So, in the spirit of understanding this morning's parasha, as it has been interpreted throughout the generations, I want to say to each of us that when we have disagreements, we need to find a way to engage each other in ways that, to quote the often repeated phrase, bring more light, less heat. The rabbis in the Mishnah said that there are two kinds of disputes. There is a dispute l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, and there is a dispute shelo l'shem shamayim, that's not for the sake of heaven. And what they said was the disputes for the sake of heaven are disputes where the people who are arguing with, engaging each other, are trying to make things better. They're not out for themselves. They're not out for self-aggrandizement. They're trying to figure out what's right, figure out what's true, and to advance that cause together, and they might see things differently. And the example they gave of that kind of a dispute, that kind of argument, were the rabbis Hillel and Shammai. They disagreed about a lot, but they trusted each other's kashrut. They ate in each other's homes. Their children married each other. That's a model of respectful dispute that brings light rather than damaging heat. And the other example is the example of Korah and his followers, who, we understand, were having this argument not to make things better for the whole, for the common good, but to advance their own selfish needs. And that argument, says the rabbi, it doesn't hold up. That argument ultimately is destroyed, and sometimes the people making those arguments will suffer consequences. So I look out at the world now, and I look out at the vicious echo chambers in which we agree with each other but lash out at everybody else, where we are so certain of ourselves that we feel that we can destroy others in the process of articulating our views, and it seems to be getting worse and not better. And I am yearning for the kinds of engagement within the Jewish people, beyond the Jewish people, that is respectful and that has in mind the good of the whole. And so I want to share with you, and with this I'll conclude, that I saw recently an old video, and it was a video of Yitzhak Rabin, Prime Minister, after Menachem Begin won the prime ministership, turning over the reins of the leadership of the state of Israel. Rabin was from the Labor Party, left of center, and Begin was from the Likud Party, right of center. And here is what Yitzhak Rabin said to Menachem Begin. Ani me'achel lecha kol ha'hatzlacha ba'olam. I wish you all the success in the world. Ki ha'hatzlacha shelcha hi hatzlachat hamedina ve'hatzlachat ha'am. Because your success is the success of our state and the success of our people. Wow. That didn't get a wow then because that's the way statesmen conducted themselves. They understood that even if they had ideological differences, that everyone had the good of the nation in mind. And so I want us, whether we are part of the Jewish faith or whatever our faith, whatever our ideology, whatever our politics, to understand that attacking one another is never productive. Let us discover, or perhaps rediscover, the power of machloket l'shem shamayim, engaging each other for the sake of heaven, lifting each other up for the sake of our people and for the sake of all people. We are going to need to learn how to engage one another and how to stick together more and more. Shabbat Shalom.